This is ABC15 Mornings.
All right, you made it to Friday. Good morning to everybody out there. Nick Saletti here in studio. Kaylee O'Kelly has the morning off. Mark Thompson is joining us today and is social distancing from home today. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning to you, Nick, and happy Friday. And let's send things over to meteorologist Iris Hermosillo with the first look at that most accurate forecast. And Iris, some hope in the forecast when it comes to the heat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, we need a break. It has been a brutal summer, but there is definitely some hope and some signs of big changes starting as early as this weekend. But this morning, if you step outside, you're going to notice the clouds, and we've got some raindrops across parts of the valley, too. I am starting to see a little bit of yellow in central Phoenix, indicating some slightly more moderate showers right along the State Route 51. But you notice that there's a lot of green. So this is very light rain, even some sprinkles moving through spots like Ahwatukee, Laveen. In the Northwest Valley, up near Surprise, a few bursts of yellow and orange over some of that higher terrain just north of Surprise, producing a little bit more rainfall there and right along Loop 101 approaching Deer Valley. So we do have showers across the Phoenix area. They're just very light, and I think they're going to linger through about 7 a.m. on keeping those rain chances right at 10%. Then this afternoon, those storms stay over the higher terrain as we are in for another very hot day. We're at 90 degrees right now. We'll climb to a high of 112 this afternoon. That's near the record high temperature for today, and we are under an excessive heat warning. So that heat warning remains in effect through 8 o'clock here tonight, but it very could well be the last heat warning of the year. I'm going to show you those cooler changes heading our way in just a little bit. But for now, I want to send it over to Chelsea Davis. Chelsea, you've been watching those roads for us here this morning.
That's right, Iris. Yes, and I've been seeing Friday-like conditions overall for the most part when we're talking about our valley flows. We see a lot of green, especially for the north side of town and west side of town. So I-17 looks good, I-10 making your way into downtown Phoenix. Or hey, if you're headed out of town, things look good over there too. And if you travel on Valley Metro, though, I just wanted to give you a heads up that we are seeing some train delays in the east and westbound directions, 15 minutes worth because of a mechanical issue they had this morning. So don't be late. Get there early, and then over to the east side of town, overall mostly green conditions, but with our ADOT camera, we have Loop 202 Red Mountain eastbound at Priest Drive. Right there when you exit, you're going to see a lot of activity because of a crash. So if you want to exit at Rural instead, that's going to be a better option. And of course, I'll let you know what else I learned with this one.
Chelsea, thank you. Today, another school week comes to a close with the vast majority of kids learning remotely. But in the next few weeks, that could all be changing. Carla Navarrete live this morning. And Carla, opinions are strong on both sides when it comes to safely getting kids back to school.
Yeah, good morning to you, Nick. It's a decision that just about every parent will have to make in the next couple of weeks, in some cases in the next couple of days. Do I feel safe sending my child back to in-person learning inside a brick and mortar building? That is the question that lays on so many minds. This morning, Maricopa County is getting very close, though, I will tell you, to reaching the suggested benchmarks that were put out by the state health department in early August. It could happen within a week or two for Maricopa County. Now, meantime, 4 counties across Arizona do meet those benchmarks for in-person learning, and they include Apache County, Greenlee, La Paz, and Yavapai. Each of them has had fewer than 7% of their COVID-19 tests come back positive for 2 weeks, and fewer than 10% of people showing up at hospitals in those counties with symptoms of coronavirus. Now, one concern for many parents, for many moms, is if these schools do reopen, will the teacher be there? Because we've seen dozens upon dozens of teachers throughout Arizona resign in the last couple of weeks. Take a listen.
I'm a physics teacher. I can do elementary mathematics. So just looking at the infection rate, it was clear that bringing kids back into that school was just irresponsible.
Now, as far as that teacher who we just heard from, he quit after his proposal on how to teach his course online was turned down by his district. Now, some of the larger school districts that will be considering in-person learning and what that will look like include Mesa, Gilbert, and Higley. They will have school board meetings in the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks. Now, Queen Creek Unified, we know they've been in school for the last 2 weeks. No reported outbreaks in Queen Creek as of now. For now, reporting live in the East Valley Valley. I'm Carla Navarrete, ABC 15, Arizona.
Carla, thank you. Tuesday, September 8th, that's when a hybrid model of in-person learning will begin for the J.O. Combs School District in Pinal County. The decision made at a board meeting Thursday night. The district was set to begin on-site learning 2 weeks ago, but the plans had to be scratched after a large number of teachers called out sick.
We'll see in a week, we'll see in 2 weeks, we'll see. It's not working. It's not working. These kids aren't getting the education that they need. I think that it's important for us to stay closed until the benchmarks are met. I think it's important for the health of our whole community.
With the hybrid model, students can either return to campus or continue to learn online. Similar models will begin on the same day in other districts like Gilbert and Higley.
Well, this weekend is going to look like something that we haven't seen since June. The state is reopening, and that means that bars and restaurants and movie theaters and gyms as well, they're going to be welcoming back customers as well as employees. Now, when it comes to COVID-19 at 9 of the state's 15 counties, including Maricopa, Pima, they are all in the moderate to minimal stage of spread. At businesses, they will have significantly reduced capacity, and they must follow certain safety protocols. Some bar owners that we spoke with say that they want to remain open, and they're going to make sure that those policies are followed.
I'm going to lead by example and show them, look, this is what we need to do. I'm doing it. You should do it. This is what we need to do. We want to stay open, keep our doors open. Please do this.
The State Health Department asking everyone to do their part, either by following safety guidelines or reporting businesses that do not.
Well, here's what's happening today surrounding Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old self-proclaimed militia member, charged with shooting multiple people and killing 2 of them. He's going to make his first court appearance. The most serious charge he faces is first-degree murder. If convicted, he could face life in prison. Rittenhouse will be charged as an adult. As for Jacob Blake, the man shot by police 7 times last weekend, he remains in the hospital. He's reportedly handcuffed to his hospital bed despite being paralyzed from the waist down. His father says he has no idea why his son is under arrest. Overnight tensions in the streets of Kenosha were much quieter than we saw earlier in the week. A curfew remains in place through the weekend. Meantime, there are more National Guard troops on the ground. The Wisconsin governor announcing that troops coming from Arizona were going to help, as well as Michigan and Alabama. They're arriving at his request.
And on this date in 1963, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. And today, that speech is going to be honored with another march on Washington, D.C. Now, today's march was organized by the Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network and the NAACP. Sharpton announced the march while speaking at the funeral for George Floyd. Tens of thousands, they are expected to attend, and it's been called the Commitment March, Get Your Knee Off Our Necks. The goal is to create change, just as Dr. King did so many years ago. The march begins at the Lincoln Memorial and will go to the MLK Memorial. And you don't have to go to Washington, D.C. to support the march. There will be a solidarity march here in Phoenix. We spoke to Pastor Warren Stewart Jr., who will be speaking tonight.
The March on Washington, a historic time for Dr. King, John Lewis, so many millions of Americans that fought for justice in the 60s, and the 57th year anniversary. We just wanted to commemorate that on this day. Did not know that Jacob Blake, another black man, would be shot and paralyzed 7 times. And so here we are, trying to celebrate, and yet now we are continuing to demonstrate.
Tonight's Solidarity March starts at 6 o'clock. It will be held at City Hall Plaza.
Well, next on ABC 15 Mornings, it's another weather action day, but things are looking better on the other side. Are you ready for some relief from this heat? Boy, are we ever. Iris has the most accurate forecast you don't want to miss.
Plus, the legacy of inequality, a look at decades-old housing policies and its long-lasting effect on American society and the economic health of black households.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Friday. We finally made it, and we are dealing with Friday-like conditions right now throughout the valley. I-10 right now especially clear, making your way through Avondale into downtown Phoenix and closer to the mini stack. I-17 clear no matter which direction you're headed, whether that's into downtown or maybe up north. Also, the Valley freeways for the east side of town showing mostly green conditions. Now, Loop 202 eastbound at Priest Drive, as soon as you exit, there are some cars out there and a big presence from a crash. So you're going to want to avoid that exit. You're going to want to use rural to get by instead. I'll keep you posted on that one. And a heads up, if you are planning to get out to the east side of town and maybe beyond, it's going to be closed on US 60 for the Griffin wildfire. So you're going to see that east and westbound between Globe up to State Route 73. So stick to State Route 87 or 260 or 260 to get by, depending on where you're headed and what you need to get either out of the valley or into the valley. We also have the closure on State Route 88, and that's only in the eastbound direction at this point at Lost Dutchman State Park, but that's typically where you'd be headed if you were going to Goldfield and Tortilla Flat and beyond. And we have no ETA on when either one of those is going to reopen, but when it does, we'll let you know. Right now, let's check in with meteorologist Iris Hermosillo. Good morning, Iris.
Hey, good morning to you, Chelsea. Well, as you're talking about being on the roads, I've got to give you a heads up that you may get some raindrops too on your way into work this morning. We've got some rain in central Phoenix and also in the Northwest Valley. The East Valley at this point, though, as you can see, pretty quiet from Chandler to Mesa to Apache Junction to Queen Creek. I am seeing some little bursts of yellow indicating some slightly more moderate rain falling right around Missouri and Camelback and the State Route 51. Those showers pushing to the north, heading right over some of that higher terrain right there in central Phoenix, the North Phoenix Mountains, that Phoenix Mountain Preserve. So those will be moving through. We also have some showers north of Surprise that are a little bit heavier as they track to the northeast and near Peoria too, right along the Loop 101. So again, you may get some raindrops, especially if you commute along the I-17, the Loop 101 in the West Valley, or State Route 51 and anywhere along the I-10 in those areas too. And we're seeing some of these showers expand further north now from Lake Pleasant up to Prescott, and then eventually we'll see more of those storms over the higher terrain. These valley showers will continue through about 7 a.m., I think, and then after that really winding down. And this afternoon, as we get some of that daytime heating, it'll be the higher terrain where we see the best opportunity for showers and thunderstorms, and mainly the eastern Mogollon Rim, also the higher terrain east of the valley. We've got a chance for more storms in southern Arizona. We'll have to watch those as they could work their way into Pinal County, at least the southern portions near Casa Grande and Gila Bend, possibly producing some pockets of dust. But like pretty much most of the week, we are going to struggle to see any of those storms in the valley. So I think today, a quieter day again for the central portions of the state, including for the Phoenix area. We'll see these morning showers, and then this afternoon I'm not expecting any thunderstorms, but things will change this weekend, and I'm going to talk more about that storm chances that's increasing, especially Saturday night. We've got to get through one more day, though, of these excessive heat warnings, but these could very well be the last warnings of the summer, those heat warnings. We're hoping so, at least, especially considering the extended forecast. But that excessive heat warning remains in effect through 8 o'clock here tonight for the Valley, northern Maricopa County, northwest Pinal County, and even over some spots to our east, like Globe, in effect through this evening. Also, Yuma under that excessive heat warning through this evening, and then those alerts expire and temperatures begin dropping this weekend. Today, though, we're starting out at 90 degrees in Phoenix. It's 68 in Prescott and in Payson, 52 right now in Flagstaff. As you look at those temperatures across the valley, a mixed bag of 80s and 90s. Some of the cooler spots, Apache Junction at 82, but Goodyear right at 93. So a big difference from the east to the West Valley. We've had more clouds in the West Valley, so that, of course, trapping in some of the warmth as opposed to more clearing in the East Valley where temperatures have gotten a little bit lower. Plan on some light showers early this morning, lingering clouds through the morning. Then we're back into the hundreds by mid-morning, 105 by lunchtime, and today a high of 112 degrees. We're going to come close to the record high temperature today. It stands at 113. I'm forecasting 112. Also something to note, we haven't dropped below 90 degrees, and if we don't drop any further, that could tie the record for the warmest low temperature ever recorded on this date, and of course it would add to our tally of days with lows in the 90s. By the way, today could also be day 50 with highs at 110 or higher. But temperatures are dropping significantly this weekend. 90s by Sunday and Monday, better storm chances too. I'll go into more detail on that in the next half hour.
All right, Iris, thank you so much. Well, the gap in home ownership between minority communities and their white counterparts is still an issue to this day, and a lot of it can be traced back to the systemic practice of redlining, and that practice of the past has led to a staggering gap in wealth accumulation that still exists today.
Many government agencies.
Redlining emerged after World War II, where white vets were given government loans for housing through the GI Bill. Many black vets were denied those loans, and the government sectioned off, often with a red line, suburban areas for whites, leaving people of color in areas with lower property value. White families were able to pass down the value from their homes to their children, creating generational wealth.
So essentially what we have seen is that white Americans have had 80 years to build wealth all throughout the nation in these racially restricted and redlined areas all throughout the country.
While minority families, ASU professor Rashad Shabazz says, were left renting in the projects or in homes in declining neighborhoods. Lower property taxes meant less money for good schools and less of an opportunity at a college education.
This is the primary reason that we see this imbalance between white wealth and black wealth accumulation.
And that staggering gap in wealth continues to this day. According to the Brookings Institute, in 2016, the net worth for white families was $171,000, compared to the net worth of black families at just over $17,000.
And I think it's incumbent upon white Americans to have a clear understanding of how their social positions were enabled.
Enabled, he says, not by working any harder, but by the systemic policies in housing that have led to their generational wealth. And even before redlining, there was what was known as restrictive covenants, where it was written flat out in the deeds to properties that homes in certain neighborhoods could not be sold to blacks, Hispanics, Jews, and other minorities.
Effectively kept black people out of the housing market for the vast majority of the 20th century.
And while the Fair Housing Act of 1968 was meant to outlaw those practices, realtors still found a way to keep neighborhoods segregated through policies like steering, where they would steer minority families away from white neighborhoods and into lower income housing areas, whether they could afford it or not.
This practice continues to this day.
Blacks steered here, he says, to areas like South Phoenix and historically kept out of neighborhoods like Paradise Valley and Scottsdale. Mark Thompson, ABC15, Arizona. Hispanics now make up the fastest growing population of new home buyers, and President Trump, he recently changed HUD rules, reversing an Obama policy that he says will keep low-income housing out of suburban areas.
When the first COVID-19 vaccines are approved, we won't know a lot about their safety. In some trials, tenderness and pain were most common symptoms. Based on other vaccine history, a COVID vaccine will likely produce some sort of adverse reaction. It could be minor, though, like a typical injection site issue or maybe something more serious. Back in the 1950s, the very first massive polio vaccine was stopped because it paralyzed some children and killed a handful. In the 1970s, the swine flu vaccine caused a very small amount of rare neurological cases. There are other issues like an allergic reaction or seizure. Still, though, experts say vaccines are one of the greatest advances in modern medicine to prevent unnecessary deaths.
There is no better cost-effective intervention that medical science has to offer, with the exception of safe water and sanitation. So when you look at our life expectancy, vaccines have been incredibly important.
Well, the Vaccine Injury Litigation Clinic handles cases of vaccine-related injuries and deaths. They have, on average, just over 600 people a year receive payouts from the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. Now, they claim vaccine injuries are still rare compared to the overall numbers administered every single year in this country.
A federal judge is giving the White House and the U.S. Postal Service just over a week to turn over information about changes to mail service. Those changes include removing sorting machines and cutting overtime. The Justice Department says that much of that information that's being requested is already public. More than 20 states have now filed lawsuits over those changes.
There is a new app to help you keep track.
621 now.
Sorry, Mark. Do you want to take it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just take it. You're so courteous. Thank you. There's a new app to help you keep track of any recalls on your car. It comes from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It's called Safer Car and works by entering your vehicle's VIN number. It also applies to car seats, trailers, and tires. You'll get an alert when something gets recalled, and it'll let you know what's relevant and all of the pertinent information. And the best part is it is absolutely free to use and keep track of.
All right, we are coming up on 6:22 now on your Friday morning. The Republican National Convention comes to an end, and they now begin the real campaign. President Trump and Joe Biden both announcing future campaign stops across the country.
Plus hundreds of thousands without power this morning. Several people are dead. The damaging threats from Hurricane Laura far from over, where the storm will be tracking this weekend.
Smart shopper Chelsea Davis here, and sometimes when you screw into drywall or wood, some of the particles fall down and can create a mess on the floor. So I found some hacks online that are supposed to help with that, but we're going to do our own version using a toilet paper roll, and I'll let you know if it's bull or no bull. To create our contraption, we use scissors to cut halfway up the toilet paper roll, and then we cut around so it's about 1 inch to a 2-inch round cylinder. Now for the fun part, I put the toilet paper roll up against the wall and screwed straight through it into the drywall. And as you can see, it collected all of the drywall dust. There's no way to screw up this hack, so where does it rank on our bull or no bull meter? I'm going with no bull! And if you have a hack or a product you want me to try before you buy, let me know. Go to abc15.com/smartshopper.
All right, Chelsea, thanks. Amazon is taking an interest in fitness. The company just launched a tracker that takes account of workouts, sleep, and body fat. It can also listen to your voice and tell you points of the day where you're sounding happy or sounding sad. With concerns already about Amazon listening in with Alexa speakers, the company assures its fitness tracker won't use your information for marketing or advertisements. Next at 6:30, the 2020 national political conventions are over. Ahead, the key takeaways from President Trump's speech last night and when Joe Biden plans to come to Arizona. Plus, it's something we've not seen in months. Arizona preparing to reopen for a second time. Are customers ready to go back?